Everybody, we're here at the University of Texas Co-op on Guadalupe, right on the drag rod where you and I went to school and hung out quite a few times. Jerry Hampton's joining us. He's going to a football game tonight, so he's not going to be up here in Austin until tomorrow morning. But I tell you what, it's an interesting game coming up for the Longhorns. 3-0, number one ranked team in the country. Arch Manning is the starter for Texas tomorrow. Big game, big footprint right now for Arch Manning and the Texas Longhorns on college football. They have a chance to put a stamp on it tomorrow against ULM, against a coaching staff, the defensive coordinator, whom I still don't understand I don't understand what Ernest Hills was trying to do other than get his own team. Say that stuff in the locker room, not in front of a podium with a bunch of media people sitting around just waiting to beam that up to Austin, Texas.
No, I'm with you. My theory is that he always does that, and we never care because we never get a chance to play ULM.
Because he's playing Middle Tennessee State.
Yes. And it's the number one team in the country, and Arch Madness is happening. So that's why Ernest now is wondering, why the hell am I on Paul Feinbaum? Why is on Texas football talking about me? Because usually nobody cares about ULM, and now Ernest, it's almost one of those movies. Ernest goes to camp and Ernest goes to DKR.
We had a beat writer for ULM on this morning on Coffee and Football.
What did he say about it?
He said, don't know why he did that. It was like, I think maybe the head coach needs to talk to him a little bit.
People thought he was the head coach. People kept saying on Twitter, head coach of ULM says, and I was like, no, that's just the DC.
You know what's crazy about that? If you look, I just looked up his bio for the first time. He came from UAB.
Mm-hmm.
Before that, he coached with Major Applewhite at South Alabama. He was the running backs coach, and Major was the OC. And he was the head, he was the head football coach at McGill-Tulane, Greenville, Alabama, and Spanish Fort when they won state. He is a successful high school coach in Alabama.
Yeah, those are all down south in the state of Alabama, near the Mobile area, Spanish Fort and McGill-Tulane. Hey, the other thing I would add here, it is happy hour time at the Co-op. If you come down here, they're serving free cerveza. So get in line. Donde está la cerveza? That's the best I've got right now from my Babbel app that I've been using to learn Spanish.
Nice.
Rod, we look at today. It is also a big moment, folks, not just for the University of Texas tomorrow in their football game, but what's one other thing we need to mention? 3 lifetime Longhorns are going to be inducted tonight into the University of Texas Hall of Honor. We're very excited for them. I was texting with Alex Okafor earlier today. Very excited for him. Very excited for Colt McCoy. Very excited for Marquise Goodwin. All 3 of these guys all deserve it. McCoy, the winningest quarterback in Texas history, right? Alex Okafor, 52 career starts. Rod, that's 4 years of putting it on the line for the Longhorns. It really is. And then Marquise Goodwin, not only good in football, but look, Olympic participant in the long jump, 2-time NCAA long jump champ. Longhorns have 3 really good football players going into the Hall of Honor tonight. They've got 12 in total former Longhorn athletes and coaches going into the Hall of Honor.
Colt McCoy is just an all-time great, a legendary lifetime Longhorn. So honestly, I'm a little surprised that hadn't already happened. I guess he had to wait a certain amount of time.
He had to be here.
He had to retire.
He had to
retire. Right? So he had to retire officially. So yeah, Colt, no doubt about that. I actually worked with Alex Oak for doing the Third and Longhorns podcast, and he is just a fantastic human being. Unbelievable player. Got great insight. He does a great podcast, Behind the Face Mask now, where he talks to guys. But a big fan of Alex Oak. He was one of the last great natural pass rushers at Texas too. Guy had double-digit sacks in the season. I believe that was 2012, if I'm not mistaken, somewhere around there. But either way, great player, much deserving. And Marquise Goodwin. I mean, I was doing sideline stuff when Marquise Goodwin was there. Quick story, when we were playing in the Alamo Bowl, and Major Applewhite was the offensive coordinator there. I remember him walking up to Marquise Goodwin and saying, "Hey, man, saddle up. I'm going to you early and often today." and he went to him, I think, early, just taking shots.
That was against Oregon State, right?
Yes.
With David Ash.
And he lit him up. And he told him before the game, he was like, "Hey, get ready. Get ready. We're going to test that at world-class speed today.
Hey, we've got some other news we want to get to here quickly. Texas took a baseball commitment away from Texas A&M about 30 minutes ago. I'm going to mention that here in a second. But first, we want to say thank you to our sponsors. We're here today at the University of Co-op, courtesy of 40 Acres Apparel. The University of Texas Co-op is a nonprofit and has been serving the Longhorn community since 1896. Every penny of profit directly benefits course material scholarships. In fact, more than 7,000 students have received free course material scholarships in the 23-24 academic year. 40 Acres Apparel was born inside DKR. It's what Rod, myself, as well as Jerry are wearing today. Designed and built exclusively for the University of Texas and Longhorn Nation. Go down to the University of Texas Co-op or go to universityoftexascoop.com and get geared up with 40 Acres Apparel. Great designs, fashionable, high quality, SPF 50, moisture wicking. It's just a super good product. It's actually right behind us right now. Looks great, feels great. 40 Acres is also a proud sponsor of that very same course material scholarships for UT students as well. They give back to the community. All right, let's get on to this situation. Baseball commitment. I got to mention it because Jim Schlossnagle's on a little bit of a run here right now, guys. He had 3 commitments yesterday that came in.
Wow.
Today, he picked up one that was formerly committed to Texas A&M. That's Corsicana shortstop or infielder, Easton Autry. He was a 2026 recruit, played first base, third base, shortstop, has a perfect grade game of 9.5. Our Blake Monroe of On Texas Football reporting that he is the 4th commitment in just 2 days for the Longhorn baseball team. I think Harvey Penick, the former golf coach, that used the term "take dead aim."
Yeah,
it feels like that's what Jim Schlossnagle's doing right now in baseball recruiting. He's like taking dead aim at every possibility for the Longhorns. Big pickup for them. CJ and Blake, by the way, are going to be talking a little baseball recruiting later tonight. That's kind of a special edition. Jerry, other news I want to get to with you and let you take the mic here for a second. Our one of the Longhorns' top recruits in this recruiting class is a young man named Kalik Lockett. He's out of the Dallas area, and he had himself a really nice game yesterday against Wiley. I'll let you and Matt, our producer, put up the film and let you tell folks about Kalik Lockett, the wide receiver that's committed to Texas.
Yeah, Kalik Lockett, Saxe High, same high school that produced Devin Duvernay, same head coach over there, Red Barons. He had one of his highlight plays of his career last night, and you're looking at it. You know what? A refusal to go down against Wiley, team a little bit north of Garland, Saxe there. A refusal to go down in the score. Showed great balance. You know, what's great about this play, that play for Kalik, and here's the second play he had. This is the plays you normally see him making, right? Where he is one of the best receivers, if not the best receiver in the country, in terms of catch radius, body control, turning 50-50 balls into 80-20 balls. He is a guy that is really good in the red zone. He is really good at that outside X receiver. But you see what Saxe does. They're moving him around. And again, this play right here, this will be his highlight play of the season. And he had a good one the first week against Capel. But that was a big-time play from Kalik Lockett. Again, one of 2 receivers committed to Texas, along with Jamie French, who's out 2 or 3 games with a finger injury sustained on a highlight reel play last week. But Kalik Lockett, big game against Wiley there. You see that last night. Again, great body control, really big catch radius, 11-inch hands, really good route runner. We're going to be a tremendous red zone wide receiver for the Horns and a really good fit in the SEC as Texas plays these taller, longer limb corners. So Kalik Lockett there, strong game last night. Caleb Chester also played last night against Richmond Randall. So there was a lot going on in the Texas Longhorns. I was at Hitchcock last night. I watched Kelshawn Johnson, the Texas A&M wide receiver commitment, who's very fast, 10.5, 100-meter guy, 10.2 if he wanted to train for track. Holman Wiggins, A&M coach, was there last night, receivers coach. I think they know Texas is still in contact there. And Kelshawn Johnson reiterated that he plans to visit Texas for the Georgia game. So recruiting's going to get interesting. Texas is in on a bunch of guys, whether it be D-line, wide receiver with Kelshawn Johnson, defensive back. They're all flip candidates at this point. There's a bunch of guys committed other places that Texas is in on. But a few visitors this weekend. I think James Lott's son, Jalen Lott, and Jonah Williams are the marquee guys this weekend. Next week against Mississippi State is when recruiting really gets real for Texas in this class. They have a number of official and unofficial visitors, big-time guys coming in next weekend for Mississippi State. And then the visitors list from Georgia will look like a parade All-American team or Texas Top 100 that Rod was part of one back in the day.
Hey, Jerry, what can this season, in terms of what Sark does with that wide receiver room, in terms of spreading out the target shares and spreading out the number of usage, way he utilizes these guys, the way he deploys them, how can that help in recruiting? Because right now they got one of the deepest rooms in the country. And then moving forward, we're trying to stockpile that room with more talent. And you can convince receivers that everybody can eat. And there are examples of it. He had it at Bama, and now another example of it here at Texas. I
think that's a great question, Rod. And when I was talking with the Hitchcock, people around Hitchcock yesterday, one of the things that was said, and I'm not saying Kelshawn's flipping to Texas. These are battle royale recruitments, okay? And you never know who else is going to call Sarkisian and say, "Can I come visit?" To be fair, just so we know where we're at with this whole process. But Kelshawn Johnson's noticed Isaiah Bond and Matthew Golden and what they're doing. And he obviously, it's easy to see Brian Wingo playing as a freshman, but to see a guy like Isaiah Bond, who is a similar type of receiver to Kelshawn Johnson, to see him transfer from Alabama to Texas and to see what's happening for him early in the season, making big plays against Michigan, literally looked like he had a jetpack on running down DKR sideline north to south last weekend. Kids notice. Guys are noticing for sure, Rod. I think Sark spoke this morning, I think, around the breakfast, Longhorn breakfast, and mentioned that they have high hopes for this recruiting class, the way it's going to finish. I'll say that.
Yeah, he was actually spoke before the Sports Council at DKR earlier today to a group of folks that were there, and I had some really high hopes when he talked about the actual recruiting class. Texas aiming not just for a top 5 recruiting class at this point, according to Sarkisian. So we'll have. Hey, I want to say this real quick. We're here at the Co-op where they have a free happy hour. So come on in, hang out, get yourself some clothes for tomorrow, get yourself a hat, whatever you want to do. Get yourself some apparel from 40 Acres. But I want to say this. I brought this up from Josie Hookham from South Dakota, gentlemen. I got to say this. Before y'all came in, or before you came in here, I was sitting here talking to 4 people who came in from Montana. They come in for one Texas football game a year and one Texas volleyball game a year. They're going to the volleyball game tonight over at Gregory. Texas hosts Hawaii. And then they're going to go to the football game tomorrow night. So it's kind of cool. It's not just think about Texas. It's not just about the state of Texas. It's everywhere. People go. I hear Syracuse Horn, for example, checking in from the Chicago suburbs. You know,
my wife actually went to the University of Montana. I spent a lot of time in Montana. Montana's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. It's awesome.
Yeah.
I would buy a retirement home in Montana.
By the way,
I've been the black man up there. Something.
Hey, Matthew, you bring up that super chat again, because we have a record. We have something. This is the first in that. So we have never had the same super chatter text us from super chat us from first period and sixth period in the school day. So that's a new record here at All Texas Football.
That is Blake's son.
He super chatted this in sixth period. I'm all in.
I could see the steam coming out of his mom's ears right now.
Did we get approval for this?
No. Hey, let's talk a little bit about the game. Enough dispense with the pleasantries, Rod. Jerry, you guys have both looked at this. What does UL Monroe bring to the game in DKR? Look, if the odds makers are to be believed, 44 to 44 and a half points, Longhorns are favored with their backup quarterback. Is UL Monroe just not very good, basically? I mean, what else is there? They're 2-0, by the way.
Yeah, it's a bad matchup for them, right? Football's about matchups, and it's almost like the Michigan game. Michigan, and we know Michigan's had some issues, but that was a bad matchup for them because they didn't have the ability to threaten Texas vertically on defense, and they didn't have a dominant running attack, but their identity was the running game. And similarly to me, ULM is vertically challenged. They've only attempted 3 passes past 10 yards this season. They don't want to throw the football, and Texas has the ability to take away your identity. They did it to Michigan in the power run game. They did it to Colorado State with the air raid, and I think they're going to be able to do that to ULM. And once they take away their identity, force ULM to have to throw the football, they're going to be a little bit stranded once they have to abandon their identity of running the football.
They've thrown 3 passes past 10 yards in 2 games.
Yeah.
That can't be. Are you serious?
Bobby almost cussed.
I mean, no, I suppose shout out to CJ because CJ broke down in our preview of ULM. Yeah,
that is nuts.
Yeah, so that's kind of my point. I've got 48-3 for the just cover, and that's the way I was looking at this game. I'm like, look, if we talked about first down run defense against Michigan, right? Michigan had a couple of second and 4s. They never had a second and 2 or 3. If UL Monroe's sitting at second 8 or 9, if they don't do something on first downs, how are they moving the ball at all unless there's a bust? I just don't see it. Like I think UL Monroe may be a better team overall right now than UTSA, but I don't think they're as much of a threat offensively to Texas as UTSA was. Because UTSA had a better quarterback throwing it. Devin McEwen's really fast, and they're really good in the screen game.
All right, I've got to say this. The other thing that I found interesting this morning from interviewing their beat writer, he said they have 74 new faces on their roster, a lot of whom came from UAB with their coach, who UAB passed over hiring, and then he instead went to ULM. It's very interesting how these Sun Belt teams, UAB, Middle Tennessee State, ULM, all of them, Troy is another one that is a big name in that conference, kind of live in and out of the portal and kind of switch players a little bit, as well as coaches for that point as well. All right, guys, any other comments y'all have on this game coming up about what you want to – because here's my issue, and I wrote about this morning. I feel like Texas has not been on a roller coaster this year. Yeah, 3. Oh, 2. 3 total, Rod.
Yeah. 3. No, CJ. Right. Shout out to CJ because CJ, when he showed it to me on the preview, I was like, what the? And then I went and looked and I was like, that's real. That sounds like a fake stat.
Yeah.
But it's not.
Yeah, it does sound. I mean, 2 games into it even.
Yes.
Hey, by the way, you know what's crazy about that
10 yards, not 20, 10.
You know what's crazy about that stat? More than a third of their passing attempts are behind the line of scrimmage. How's that going to work against Texas tomorrow? Not well.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see.
75% run rate, guys. So they want to run the ball. If they throw the ball more than 20 times, that's exactly what Texas wants them, because that means they've abandoned, in their definition, abandoned the run game. Because they've only thrown it 31 times, I believe, something like that, their entire season.
Look, my question is more enough looking at Louisiana Monroe. Let's look internally, because that's who the real opponent is tomorrow.
Yeah.
Given what y'all are telling me, and I talked about it this morning. Texas has been a good football team in the last 15 years every so often, but it's always been a roller coaster, up and down. Even last year, a little bit of a roller coaster, right? I mean, they won 11 games, but the Houston game was nip and tuck. Kansas State came to overtime. TCU was difficult in Fort Worth, but this team feels different. They've won 3 games, and nobody has been within 2 scores of them in any of the second halves. I mean, they've put these games away quickly. And so I pushed this and said that I think it's 2 real reasons, but one of them is the foundation is the offensive line. Offensive lines typically don't have bad games. They have subpar games at times, but they're not. You don't have to be hot and cold as an offensive lineman. A quarterback can be hot and cold. He can have a bad game. You know what I mean? offensive lines, yeah, they have bad. It's just really rare. I think that's the foundation, and then quarterback play has just been tremendous. So if you're looking at it, guys, what are y'all thinking, at least from your vantage point right now, about what Texas needs to be thinking about itself going into this game? Mine, and I bring all this up to say mine is execution at a high level. Play to your standard, not to someone else's. Is that that's what Sark's saying too? But what do y'all think? What, Jerry, you start for me.
Yeah, I just think we're just seeing 3 straight top 5 recruiting classes being a blue blood in the portal. I think that Bobby, we're going to be talking. We just put out a show about the NFL draft talent on this team. Rod, I think it's going to be interesting how UL Monroe plays Texas defensively tomorrow. Everybody's respected the speed so much. Does ULM do that, or are they going to try to bring the house on Arch and see if he'll make a mistake or two? People haven't been bringing the house at Quinn as much on Michigan Blitz, but Colorado State, UTSA, not as much. I mean, Quinn didn't play that much, but I'm interested to see how UL Monroe plays Texas. But look, I think offensive line depth. This is where your depth in recruiting really shows up, because if Sark can get away tomorrow night without maybe playing Jaden Blue many snaps, if he plays at all, without playing Trey Wisner many snaps, if he depending on how much they're going to play him. Kelvin Banks, who may have a sore shoulder from a stinger, I mean, other guys, do you not rush Jelani McDonald back? I mean, this is if you're willing to, if you're telling yourself in your coaches meetings, we're good. You know how talented Texas is? Because nobody goes into a game and wants to be the team that gets upset by somebody that's a 40-point dog against you. But Texas has real speed and depth of speed on this team. And I think they have depth of talent on the line, offensive line. And I think a game like this, the reality of a game like this is if Trevor Gooseby and Brandon Baker and Neto, if they all got 25 snaps in this game, they're going to be better than the starters for UL Monroe that they're putting out opposites on the offensive line. I mean,
so what is Texas focusing on, though, Jerry? What's Texas's focus for this game? Is it resting smartly its players, in your opinion? That's what you're getting at?
Resting smartly the players, yes, I agree. I think defensively it's just going to be – Rod already hit it. It's going to be like the Michigan game. I think offensively, though, I think continuing to bring Ryan Wingo along in this offense and Jonte Cook and Silas Bolden. We talked about that after the Michigan game. What was kind of be the offensive focus for the next 2 weeks? Now, we were talking about it with Quinn as the quarterback. It's going to be continuing to get these guys fully integrated into the offense, get them more game reps, and even more in-game reps for Bond and Matthew Golden in this, and DeAndre Moore in this offense on Saturdays. Because as talented as this receiver corps is, and as impressive as they've been, they still haven't played a lot of football with Texas jerseys on in a game on Saturday. You're seeing a lot of that last Saturday. You're going to see more of it tomorrow. I think you're going to see Sark try to get those guys continually more involved, get those guys more touches like DeAndre Moore last week. He does the dirty week, work the first 2 weeks at the receiver position. You get him those touches. He had one called back against Michigan. Arch even mentioned that in his post-game press conference. And then with Arch, guys, look, I think it's going to be interesting, Rod, to see how different the game is called for Sark tomorrow night, because him and Quinn have different strengths. And Arch probably isn't comfortable with as much motion pre-snap, even though he's been there a year and a change now. I think it's going to be interesting to see how Sark calls the game tomorrow and how different it is from when Quinn's the starting quarterback.
I agree. That's the one thing for me that I'm looking at, right? Because there'll be subtle modifications in the offense. I think you hit the nail on the head. Pre-snap motion, I expect it to drop a bit in the game versus UTSA. When Quinn was in the game, they're around 55% pre-snap motion rate and motion shift rate before the snap. When Arch came in the game, it dropped to about 45%. I think that'll be the case in this game. I think you'll get something below the average. But if you have a week of practice, maybe the opening script still has a lot of motion. And maybe once we're off the opening script, maybe then Sark kind of decreases the amount of pre-snap motion you have. I actually think the stats bear it out that you're going to have more of a vertical passing game with Arch in the game. Quinn's time to throw is about 2.2 seconds. Arch is about 2.5. If you look at air yards, the percentage of air yards in that UTSA game for Quinn is around 26%. For Arch is around 42%. The average depth of target for Quinn is around 6.2 or 6.6 yards. For Arch, it's around 8.8, damn near 9 yards average depth of target. So I think you'll actually get Arch throwing the football downfield a little bit more. It seems like he's naturally more comfortable going deeper into the progressions and throwing the ball vertically downfield a little bit more. So that's something unexpected that you usually wouldn't see with a young quarterback coming in that I expect to see with Arch. They're also going to move the pocket. That's natural.
Hey,
Arch is a little taller to get a little deeper, and he's a little more athletic than Quinn. That could give him time to buy deeper routes too.
Yeah, he did the rollout to Ryan Wingo.
Yeah.
Rod, I have a question for you. How much does it change things for Sark that little fake by Arch holds a defensive end and what he may do off
on
the
the zone read? Yeah,
as far as a game prep now with Arch as the starting quarterback, because he hasn't really had that. You didn't want Quinn running the football. You didn't want any design stuff. You didn't want the threat of it. You wanted Quinn running if it was progression 1, 2, or 3 covering. We need 6 yards for a first down, right? But with Arch, you saw the effect as that UTSA game went on. Just that faked in that edge was crashing hard. Now, what does UL Monroe do Saturday?
Oh, you have to account for him in the run game now, which is crazy. You never had to account for a Manning in the run game. So now you got him as a +1. And as a +1, they can hit 20.7 miles per hour. And we saw him put the juke on a UTSA defender. You actually have to get your pads underneath you. You got to get, square. And you actually have to take him seriously as a running threat. So I don't think that Sark is going to encourage him to be a runner. He's already said we don't major in quarterback run game. But as you said, now it's on film. I gotta, as a coach, respect it. Just your due diligence. You have to tell that defensive end, hey, I need you to make sure that he hands the ball off before you crash down and try to, take away that backside cut.
And my point to that, Bobby, real quick was the backside edge linebacker may not run down Jarrett Gibson in the run game as much. That might help Texas run game a little bit.
That cutback will be open.
I got to say this: Trey Wisner and/or Jaden Blue might be able to take that crease a little bit better than Jarrett Gibson, though. A little bit further. Hey, to sum up this, I want to finish with this on this topic of what does Texas need to be focused on. I like this post from Todd Lacey. Texas must also be ready for adversity to come. So facing adversity, it did come last week when Quinn went down and they passed the test with flying colors. Maybe a little adversity before they play Mississippi State next week in the SEC opener might be a little helpful. That might be not necessarily a bad thing. All right, maybe they're doing that already too, not only with Quinn Ewers, but at running back. All right, I want to say thank you to one of our sponsors today. That is Flat Creek Estate Winery. It's just minutes from town. They won award after award this year for their vintage wine, the Super Texan. You can find it at HEB, Specs, all over the place now. And it is available to give it a try. It's also a gorgeous venue, the estate is, with barbecues and wine tastings every single weekend. It's perfect for a day date with your significant other. That's Flat Creek Estate Winery. I also want to add this. If you happen to be around DKR tomorrow, you can also check out the Flat Creek Estate Winery Wine Garden. They're going to have frosés and all these other kind of things. Keep you cool in that 90 degree plus heat. For tomorrow. That's Flat Creek Estate Winery. All right, we got about 30 minutes left in the show, and we're going to get to the chat line and answer your questions. Feel free to get them going and get in there. Look, we talked earlier, Rod, about Colt McCoy, about Alex Okafor and Marquise Goodwin. I think they're all three going inducted in the Hall of Honor. If you're just now joining us, that happens tonight. We're very happy for them. I want to. There's Colt. There's a Colt with Steve Sarkisian hanging around the facility today. Notre Dame must not have a home game, by the way, because that's why Colt's here. Hey,
I didn't think about that. You're right. I forgot he was broadcasting.
But I wanted to say this, if you don't mind, guys. From David Keith Williams, as a retired soldier, I will never forget the long touchdown run by Marquise Goodwin at Ole Miss, where the Marine was yelling at him after he crossed the goal line. Do you remember that? He almost had like a sword in hand.
I was there.
I was too.
Yeah,
and
I was on the
it was a
sideline.
reverse.
Yes.
It was a reverse.
I remember
that
that.
Brian Harsin called, and it hit. He had a convoy, and then he just flat took off. But yes, I remember that. Let's talk. This is my subject line now. Most lasting memory plays for Colt McCoy, for Marquise Goodwin, and for Alex Okafor. I'm trying to remember one for Alex because he was one of those. He was a sack master of sorts and ended up winning a Super Bowl ring with the Chiefs. But what were some of his big plays from Colt McCoy? Obviously, the Colt play that everybody remembers, unfortunately, is the game against Alabama. But he had a play.
He had a throw against Oklahoma in the 45-35 game in the back of the end zone to Jordan Shipley. That was probably one of his better throws.
Okay, guys, we got it for Alex Okafor, and I thought that was the case, so I looked it up. His last game versus Oregon State, he had 4.5 sacks.
Wow.
That was his last game.
Hey, that's like the whole season for like 90% of the roster.
He went out with a bang. He had 5 tackles, 4.5 sacks, and 8 tackles in that game. He was a monster.
Well, you could hear Matt. Why don't you give that effort every game, Alex? We had 40 sacks in 2012.
That is, I didn't realize. I knew he had a big game, but I didn't realize he had a 5-sack game for his last game. Unbelievable. So, shout out to Oak. I remember when I first saw Oak, actually, I was doing high school games with Craig Way. Swear to God, first time I saw him, you could ask Craig. I said, that guy's an NFL player. I was like, that guy like he can play on Sunday. I'm telling you, he's got a shot at it. Turns out he turned me into a very smart guy.
Same recruiting class as Garrett Gilbert, both from the Austin area, both 5 stars.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it wasn't hard to say he could play in the NFL. He was a 5-star, so I wasn't going out on that much of a limb.
I remember the ball with Colt against Missouri where the ball bounced back to him and still threw a touchdown pass.
Wow.
Remember that? He dropped the ball. He was very sure-handed, typically. The long run against A&M.
That was a great play.
Yeah.
He pulled away from the secondary.
Yes.
I wish we had that GPS tracking back then. Maybe he would have got 20 miles per hour.
20.7 over there, no doubt. Marquise also, I'll always remember this. That touchdown his freshman year against OU. That was the deciding touchdown from Colt his freshman year. He also made a catch on the sideline that didn't look possible. You remember that? The ball looked like it was going to hit the ground.
Yes, I do remember that.
Send it to review. Just great players. Very happy for them. Reggie Freeman, basketball player, also going into the Hall of Fame. You remember him, the left-hander, scoring machine out of New York. Then also Omar Quintanilla, a former Major League player, played third base for the Longhorns. His play at third base against Rice, I think it was in the semifinals of the College World Series, helped Texas end up winning that national championship. Is that 05 maybe? I can't remember. But those guys all going in, along with current men's golf coach John Fields also getting nominated.
If I'm not mistaken, didn't Omar Quintanilla give Texas the inside track on the Hispanic Titanic?
Ivan Melendez, did he really?
Because I think they're both like El Paso folks, and I want to say Texas didn't really know about him, and then Quintanilla was like, "Hey, y'all gotta look at this dude, man. He's a real deal. I'm telling you." People in El Paso saying he lightened it up, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, check me out on that, folks. I believe that's true.
All right, we'll go a couple more questions here. Let's keep it going here. BB says, "Does anyone know why Tom Landry is never mentioned by Texas Athletic?" I gotta say this: it's been a while since he's been a coach, but he was mentioned back when I was in school. So that's in the 90s. He had already been replaced by Jimmy Johnson at that point. So it's been 30 plus years. And he is in the University of Texas Hall of Honor.
Yeah.
1971 admitted to the University of Texas Hall.
They have his hat. They have one of his hats too in one of the, I forget, showcases here. They have that fedora too.
Yeah.
So
he's from Mission, Texas. We were talking about people from Refugio earlier this morning.
South Texas.
I don't know why it hasn't happened. They need to make a movie about his life, like a biopic.
Yeah. Oh, about Tom Landry? No,
did he fly in the war and everything? Was a pilot?
Yeah.
Was it a fighter pilot or a bomber or something? I mean, a squad. He was unbelievable. Yeah.
By the way, Ashley asked what I'm drinking. I guarantee it's just unsweet tea.
You guarantee her? What?
Guarantee it's unsweet tea.
Hey, Rod, I want to get your feeling on this one from Troy. Is anybody else other than Silas Bolden going to get a shot at punt returner? My question is, should they get a shot? I mean, he has fumbled one punt, but he's looked pretty active back there when he's gotten the opportunity. What do you think?
No, they're going to keep it with Silas Bolden because I think they want him to make sure he has a role so that he stays invested. They want to use him more obviously in the passing game. It was pretty obvious early on. They made a deliberate effort to try to give him the football versus UTSA. That was a reverse. Remember the Xavier Worthy special where they would have the orbit motion and he would return, and they throw it to him like a swing screen. They ran that play with him. So it just hasn't really worked. I think Denver Harris made a great tackle on that play, but it just hasn't really worked out. He hasn't had that explosivity factor yet. So I think they're going to allow him to manifest that on the punt return. He's great, guys. He's one of the best punt returns in the country. We haven't had a momentum snatching play yet on special teams. Maybe that is going to happen in this game.
Nobody's out punted the coverage yet this year either, by the way. There's a fear with him. So we'll see if it happens Saturday. A couple things. UT boy over under on Jonte touchdowns. I think he's going to score again, so I'll put it at 1.5. A question for you guys and the chat. What do y'all think Arch Manning's numbers are going to be Saturday night?
Ooh. I'd say 275, three touchdown passes, 1 touchdown running. What do you think?
275 passing or total, Bobby?
Is that not passing only? What do you think? It could be more.
I got at least
Quinn had 185 in the first quarter, and
at least 3 passing touchdowns. Will he get to 300? That's the question. Do we think he'll get to 300?
Does he need to?
No,
because here's the issue: they're going to get Trey Owens some time,
and they're going to run
if they get a chance. But they should get Trey Owens time because now he is QB2. They need to get him just like they needed to get Arch time or Malik Murphy time a year ago. They got to get Trey Owens some time as long as Quinn Ewers is out. Absolutely have to, because you don't want him going in at a 7-7 game against Mississippi State having never played.
Okay, I'll go 3 touchdowns, 250 yards then, because you're right. They're gonna get Trey Owens in there. So
they need to fourth quarter,
mid third quarter, late third quarter. They get Trey Owens in.
Yeah. Man, that sounds good. Hey, real quick, 304 TDs, 325, 40 rushing, 3 TDs. Look at this. These are absurd stats for a guy.
But he puts up absurd stats.
He does.
I mean, come on, guys. He scored 5 touchdowns in 29 plays. The guy, he was the only quarterback in the last 25 years. You remember he threw out that stat, Bobby, that's had a 65-yard touchdown run, a 75-yard touchdown pass, and a 50-yard touchdown pass in the same game. Nobody in the NFL or college has done that in the last 25 years.
Not even Vince Young.
Man, no, not even Vince Young.
Just put that out there.
So here's something to think about with the stats for Arch. So Texas has 1,028 passing yards in 3 games, and Michigan was one of those games on the road. Mm-hmm. Now, UL Monroe is the second best defense Texas has faced. They're better than UTSA or Colorado State.
Statistically, yes.
But Texas is averaging 340 passing yards a game this season.
Yeah, fair. I mean, hey. He might go.
He might go off. Throwing the ball successfully on first downs. That defense will get tired.
Jay, thank you for the super chat, bud. Will Bobby and Rod be back at the co-op next week? Yes, we will. I wanted to come down today, but couldn't make it. We'll see you next week for sure. We'll be here with the folks at the co-op right now. By the way, every Friday from 3 to 5, the co-op has a happy hour. Serve free drinks. Got to be 21 plus. So you students out there, make sure you have your ID. But for the parents that want to come in and have a cocktail, please do buy some gear, Texas gear for your family during the game next week against Mississippi State. Speaking of Mississippi State, Fresh Prince 512. They used to make a living, and he's talking about Mississippi State here, Rod. Yeah. Used to make a living off of big bodies, physical players who maybe had qualifying issues at other schools. Is that still the case? I want to add this, and it's a great question. It also happens that they really utilized the junior colleges in the state of Mississippi.
Oh, yeah.
What has happened in junior colleges across the country, though, since there is no longer a qualifying test score, So now the SAT, ACT does not matter.
Okay.
It just doesn't matter. You just have to have a certain core GPA coming out of high school, because they consider the SAT or ACT racially biased, whatever the reason is. They just want to use GPA. What's happened is high school coaches have gotten very smart about it.
Okay.
And over the last 30 years, I've been covering recruiting for 33, 34 years. What has happened is high school coaches have earlier and earlier identified these guys that are at risk a little bit academically.
Yeah.
And so they take but talented physically.
Give them a heads up.
And they give them a heads up and they get them more acquainted, and it's good. I mean, the outcome has been good in my mind, but that leads to a dearth of talent, or at least a less talent in the Mississippi junior college ranks and in the Texas junior college ranks, by the way, Jerry. It happens everywhere. And so that is what has happened to Mississippi State more than anything. They also were hit by graduation and attrition. If you think about it, they went through this is their third head coach in as many years.
Yeah.
Mike Leach passed away. They elevated Zach Arnett, fired him, hired Jeff Levy. So they have gone through a merry-go-round at coach right now. So I think it's a number of different reasons there for reference.
Yeah.
Hey, on this,
they want to go back to it.
Yeah, once they got air raid, and then the guy bolted from it.
Yeah.
Hey, on Mississippi State, I talked to somebody at Arizona State that I know after they played him, and they said Mississippi State will still have some of those big guys, but they may not have quite the tall, longer limb guys around it that they used to have, in their opinion. So they may be. He was like, they still have enough of those guys, but not nearly what they have had. And Bobby, I think that why I thought that was a tremendous super chat is because Mississippi State made a living off of Mississippi JUCOs for so long, and more of those kids are not going to JUCO anymore. And that really affects Mississippi State in the high school recruiting. And because those kids from the state that had to go JUCO, that they kind of would send and place, right? And then they were assured they'd get them back. Those kids are now qualified for college. And they're not getting these guys anymore.
Yeah. I would add one more thing for you, Rod. Their NIL program is starkly behind that of their in-state counterpart, Ole Miss.
I can believe that.
So they actually just got an $8 million donation. Mississippi State did, I think, Wednesday of this week. So that's one to keep part of. Colin Davis, thank you for the super chat. Rod is the GOAT, so good on this channel, and the best one on Third and Longhorn. Keep him here forever. That is the plan, Rod B. That is the plan, my man.
Ain't going nowhere.
Slick Rick, is it safe to say Sark's Texas is now Saban's Bama, or too early? What do you see in Sark's team that's Pete Carroll-like and Nick Saban? I do think it's too early because what? Lack of national championship. Yeah, I mean,
you can't bring up Bama
or even Pete Carroll.
Yeah.
Now there are some similarities. High flying offense at USC,
and later on at Bama,
but early at Bama it was more 3 yards in a cloud of dust and go beat you up on defense.
Yeah.
But it has more resemblance to me to Pete Carroll, which
the culture.
The culture.
Pete Carroll's culture.
Yeah, you get my point, right?
Yeah. It's a Pete Carroll coach. It's very player friendly. He empowers the players. He's close to the players. Talks about that relationship. Nick Saban was an authority figure and ruled as such. Not saying that's a bad thing. He's the GOAT. But Pete Carroll's approach was very different, and it was a more trying to get on the player level and that kind of thing. I think that's what Sark is.
Hey, Bobby, you mentioned Steve Spurrier, and I'd mentioned Clemson under Dabo. And I think they're both kind of when Dabo built it. I think, and I'm not saying not the Dabo we see today, but the Dabo who was getting Sammy Watkins from Southwest Florida, CJ Spiller in the middle of the state of Florida. I mean, that Dabo. There's some similarities there. By the way, let's hope
Dabo has always been a recruiter first.
That's right.
Sark has not been a recruiter first. He's an offensive coordinator first.
Yeah,
that's the difference between him and Spurrier. Sark has always recruited actually better than Spurrier.
Yeah.
Spur became a better recruiter once he started winning so much. But long story short, that's where that's at right now.
Hey, by the way, let's hope Sark has a recruiting class like this. Let's see if anyone rivals this. Alabama's 2008 recruiting class had Dante Hightower, Marcel Darius, Courtney Upshaw, Damian Square, Mark Barron, BJ Scott, Robert Lester, Mark Ingram, Terrence Cody. Let's hope there's a Julio Jones, Barrett Jones. Let's hope we're talking about a class like that one day.
Absolutely. All right, let's go this one from Jose Rodriguez. Anything Arch can do tomorrow, stat-wise, to challenge Quinn as the starter, or does tomorrow do nothing to that? We're just assuming that there's nothing. That there's literally nothing Arch can do tomorrow that would unseat Quinn Ewers.
No.
Do we all agree with that? I mean, just 3 years of starting experience matters as you head into SEC play.
Agreed. Yeah, 500 yards passing, 5 touchdowns. He still does not usurp Quinn Ewers. And Sark is a quarterback, so I think also he takes that even more personal. Like that's something close to his heart about losing your job as a starter, for injury. And obviously we've seen cases of that all throughout history at the NFL and college level. But with Quinn and what he's accomplished, 3-year starter under Quinn in that system, he's made it clear that Quinn is the starter going forward. But we need Arch. And everybody knows you're going to need Arch going forward. Hopefully, you don't need him too much. I'm not going to wood, but you definitely going to need that depth at quarterback.
Yeah, the way I look at this is, yes, Quinn's QB1. He's QB1 the rest of the season. There's no question about that. But where this does help Texas is Arch next year. Yeah, I mean, we weren't planning on him getting a start this year. Now, we've been mentioning, well, Quinn's got to stay healthy. He's never had a fully healthy season. So we always kind of mentioned it. But going into this year, we weren't thinking Arch was going to get a start. Now he's going to have at least one start under his belt and significant playing time headed into next year, and that is really good for him in this Texas program.
Rick Amberguy, here we go. Who ends up leading in receiving yards for this team? Ryan Wingo? He's ahead right now, isn't he?
Yes.
Isaiah Bond or Jonte Cook? It looks like Bond is likely to lead. Well, Bond's likely to lead in receptions. Do we feel comfortable about
targets?
Targets.
Yeah,
targets maybe.
I'm saying, he just
I agree. That's a good point. But what about yardage?
I mean, Wingo right now is he's actually what 30.
You just think he's a freak? I mean, by the way, Jerry and I just talked about this earlier today. We literally went through with a fine-tooth comb on the roster. I forgot to mention this to you, Rod, because you probably haven't seen it. We think that Texas likely has 12 or 13 draft picks in 2024.
Wow.
The 2025 draft.
Yeah.
13 after having 11 last year.
Prior to the season, I would have said that was maybe an exaggeration. But watching everybody play, like Gunnar Helm now is added to that list.
That's what I was trying to say.
Major.
Yes. There are like 2 or 3 guys that prior to the season, I was thinking, I'm not sure if they're going to be an NFL draft pick. Maybe they can play on Sundays. But now I'm like, okay, well, Gunnar Helm's throwing on there. I mean, look at the secondary, how well the secondary is playing with, Makuba and Jadae Barron playing really well. So right now I agree with you guys. That's crazy to say.
Let me read this list. You tell me if you disagree with anybody or you think it's more 50-50 than it is 75-25 that they get picked.
All right.
Kelvin Banks. Quinn Ewers, Cam Williams, if he goes pro, Isaiah Bond, Matthew Golden, Alfred Collins, Andrew Makuba, Jadae Barron, Jake Majors.
Yes, forgot about Jake Majors.
Gunnar Helm, DJ Campbell, if he goes pro. Right, there are 4 guys in here. If they go pro, Jaden Blue. I mean, Barron Sorrell.
Yes, see, that's somebody prior to the season. I was going to say he's got to prove it, but he looks like an NFL player to me.
That's 13, bro.
And let's say you're off 1 or 2.
Yeah,
that's
still 11.
12. That's still
somebody gets hurt or doesn't elect to go pro, etc. As well.
Wow.
All right, Jerry. This one's going to be for you, buddy. Jake Roberson. Jerry, what do you think Arch will end up being drafted? Draft pick wise, Natty, Champ, Heisman. With that being said, start one, sit one, cut one. BY, Colt, or Arch. Holy cow!
I'm not doing that last part. I
wouldn't do it either. You couldn't make me do that.
Look, man, this is on video for this is on video forever. This one. I'm gonna go top 3 pick overall. Natty, Champ, can't predict it. It's harder never to win a championship. Heisman, yes.
I think if you're really just going 1 or 2, I'm going to go 1 on draft pick. I feel more confident about that than I do the other 2. The dude's he's got it up here, man, and he's got the physical skills. That's my opinion. As long as he stays healthy, that's more likely to me that he's the number 1 overall pick than a Natty or a Heisman.
There's a history of that in that family.
What's that? Yeah,
there's a history
of going being the number 2 Heisman guy. No doubt. Hey, we didn't answer Rick's full question though. Are we going with Wingo as leader in yardage?
A freshman. Oh man, it just happened with Xavier Worthy not too long ago.
That's true.
It could, I'll say yes right now because it is trending that way.
So right now, Bond has 215 yards, Wingo 197, Helm 189, Matthew Golden like 12 catches, 125-ish. I'm gonna go Bond. Bond is gonna lead because I think he's gonna have the most targets of the guys who are really fast, most receptions of the guys who are really fast. Catches. I'm gonna take Golden.
Oh, that's good too.
Okay. All right. Hey, by the way, every time you hear that excited excited sound from the group here, it's when someone donates some money to a scholarship at the University of Texas after their purchase from the co-op. Really proud to be partnered with the co-op as well as 40 Acres Apparel. 40 Acres and the co-op team together to really help this happen for us here on Texas Football. Because of 40 Acres and the co-op, we're allowed to come in here and broadcast every Friday home game. The University of Texas Co-op is a nonprofit and has been serving the Longhorn community since 1896. Every penny of profit from the co-op directly benefits course material scholarship at UT. Over 7,000 students received free course material scholarships in the 23-24 academic school year. 40 Acres, which you see behind us, apparel was born inside DKR, designed and built exclusively for the University of Texas and Longhorn Nation. Go down to the University of Texas Co-op or go to universityoftexascoop.com and get geared up with 40 Acres apparel. Great designs, fashionable, high quality, SPF 50, perfect for game day, guys. It includes moisture wicking, especially in this hot weather. It's just a super great product. Looks great, feels great. 40 Acres is also a proud sponsor of the course material scholarships at UT Austin for UT students. Appreciate both of those entities and them allowing us to be here. All right, Rod, I'm going to start with you on this one from Todd Lacey. How does the ULM defense approach trying to slow down this Texas offense? What are they going to do? They're going to try to take Arch's – they're going to try to rush the hell out of Arch?
They're going to try to put pressure on Arch when he throws the football. They actually have some guys who can apply the pressure. They have Bully Pullen. We talked about him. He's from JUCO ranks and already has 3 sacks for him. He had 9 pressures so far in 2 games. They have in the first 2 games, I believe they have 20 pressures already as a team. So they can apply some pressure. It'll be interesting to see how Texas comes out to throw the football. The pass rate with Quinn in the last game versus UTSA was hovering close to 70%.
I was going to say, it's like 8 or 9 plays. They didn't run the ball the entire first drive.
Yeah, so I wonder, are we still going to have that kind of pass-happy approach early with Arch, or are they going to have more of a balanced attack? That'll really determine, if you're ULM, how you want to attack Texas. If they're going to throw the football, then maybe you can dial up some pressure packages and try to get after a young Arch Manning, which, by the way, UTSA did. They sent a blitz at him on the backside. He didn't see it coming, and they were able to get to him. To me, that's your hope. if you are a ULM, because you cannot cover the weapons that they present to you on the outside. Matter of fact, not a lot of teams can. Even Michigan couldn't stack up and match up on the outside with all the weapons that Texas has, which is probably why Sark is so pass happy right now, because he understands the identity of this team is their strength, which is the passing game. So I expect them to still throw the football early on, even with Arch. And if I am ULM, I'm getting after Arch, man. That's my only chance.
Yeah.
Exotic pressure packages, try to get to him before he can get the ball downfield to those weapons.
And by the way, they had a week off for this game, so they're fresh and they've had time to draw up pretty good the game plan. Whether that's Quinn or Arch, they probably had some of their blitz packages drawn up for this Texas offense with Quinn as quarterback. I think we'll see that a lot.
No better way for their head coach to make a name for himself and get a better job than to go into Austin and do something that tweaks the University of Texas from a scheme perspective.
Or the DC, Ernest Hills.
Well,
Ernest making a name for himself this week, guys. Ernest goes to DKR. He's trying to get a promotion.
Ernest goes to camp. You remember those?
Bevo's gonna chase him out of DKR. I make the t-shirts.
All right, Sugar Daddy says, Roddy B, say my name.
Thank you, Sugar Daddy. I appreciate that super chat, baby. Thank you very much.
Hey, Jerry, we talked a little baseball earlier. I want to go to you for basketball conversation. Texas, by the way, if you're just now joining us, flipped a commitment in baseball earlier today out of a Corsicana infielder from Texas A&M to Texas. Jerry, this is a basketball question from Two Break to pay attention. Jerry, is it possible for the men's basketball team to have around 10 wins prior to SEC play starting? 10 wins prior to SEC. What do you think? You're looking at it right now.
Yeah, they will. They will. Yeah. I think they'll have 10 or 11.
They're playing up at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn. Did y'all know that?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, they're gonna play up there. You're gonna do a live stream from Barclays. There you go. That would be fun. I'll admit that would be fun. Hey, Terry, that's one place I never thought that on Texas football live stream would go from. We're
everywhere, baby.
We're everywhere. Oh my God. My kids, stop listening to Jerry. This is from Blake Monroe. Tate and Colts are just,
hey, Blake, where's your super chat?
Support the channel.
Hey, Terry Freeman. Good question here from Terry, one of our longtime listeners. Really good poster. Who's the number 2 RB this week? I think Terry is suggesting that Jarrett Gibson, the true freshman, is going to be number 1 because Sarkum said that both Wisner and Blue would be game time decisions.
Oh, I would keep Blue out again. I know that he probably hates that because it's hurting his stats and NFL, obviously draft stocks potentially, but I would try to get him as fresh as possible. Trey Wisner, yeah, I'm gonna say if I could keep him out, I would too, but I wonder that's just a luxury because you don't have depth at running back. But yeah, Jerry Gibson's your I think he's the number 1 guy. I agree with that. Number 2,
you don't want Gardner 20 carries and getting banged up, by the way.
Yeah, no, you gotta. That's one of the reasons why I thought what Sark did against UTSA coming out throwing made a lot of sense.
Yeah.
You got depth at wide receiver. You don't necessarily have depth at running back right now. Let's go do that. And then what happened on the very first series, Trey Wisner gets a gippy ankle cutting in a route.
Yep.
Hey, Jerry, let's finish up here. We're close to finishing up here as they have a happy hour right now at the UT Co-op. Guys, a lot of fun going on here. Get some free adult beverages. Come buy some gear for UT Longhorns. Check out 40 Acres section here at the Co-op as well. But, Jerry, let's finish up with some recruiting information here because you went and saw Kelshawn Johnson out of Hitchcock last night. Who can you see Texas targeting, this is from LL, as the true speed wide receiver in this class if Kelshawn doesn't flip? We've talked about Decory Moore before, but we think that train's left the station. Anybody else that you can think of that would be put in that category?
I mean, look, Sark said today in that speaking deal, the people are calling and taking our calls. So they could be making a move behind the scenes on somebody we haven't heard about yet. It's recruiting. It's possible. If not, I don't think they're going to settle, though. If they take somebody, it's going to be somebody they feel like is a dude, okay? If not, I can't imagine the guys in the portal at wide receiver they're going to be reaching out to Texas guys. Because this is 2 straight years. A.D. Mitchell, first-round grade, goes in the second round. Isaiah Bond's probably going to have a first-round grade, maybe early second-round grade. Matthew Golden is going to have a choice whether he should go pro or not after this season. I believe that. So, I think the portal, I think they're going to have guys reach out to them from the portal that are really good based on winning and what these transfer receivers have done in this offense. So, I don't think Sark's going to stretch for a high school wideout. If they take one, it's somebody they think's a real dude. Otherwise, I think the portal guys are going to be reaching out to Texas, man.
I think they are too, and they should. I really think they should, because I mean, if anybody has proven that he knows how to use a wide receiver and maximize what they can do, and he's doing it in a nice way, man. I know it's only the first 3 games, but we wondered how would he satisfy all these appetites. Did we not?
Yep.
Yeah.
Done a pretty good job of it through 3 games.
I agree. It's amazing, actually. Silas Bowden is pretty much the only one that he hasn't found a role really.
He hasn't
yet.
no cohesion. Or,
not just yet, right?
Yeah.
But everybody else found a role. I mean, Ryan Wingo's your explosive threat. Your catalyst seems to be Bond. Seems like the red zone target is Golden. DeAndre Moore is kind of your Jay Witt disciple, the culture guy, right? The glue guy in that room. You need him. And, it seems like everybody, Jonte Cook, by the way, Jonte Cook is a great man beater for you. After you try to figure out how to allocate resources to try to defend all the weapons for Texas, you forget about guys like Gunnar Helm and Jonte Cook in the passing game, and they can just annihilate man-to-man coverage.
Yep. I want to bring this one up. Are there any OU commits we would take? Look,
Michael Fasusi.
If Fasusi called Texas, they wouldn't turn him down. No chance. Is that in the works or anything? I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying, as a week and a half ago, nothing communication-wise was. If by chance he ever called and said, I've had a change of heart, they're not turning that guy down.
Okay. All right. That's going to do it here from the co-op. Thank you to the folks at the co-op. It's been a pleasure. Thanks to 40 Acres Apparel, as well as Flat Creek Winery and Estate. Make sure you guys go out and check out Flat Creek tomorrow, the wine garden at DKR. Also, we'll be over at we'll be at a tailgate tomorrow. If you want to come stop by and see Jerry and myself, our coverage begins tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. With the Saturday Conversation. Myself, Rod Babers, CJ Vogel. Then we have the tailgate, Jerry, you and I, and CJ again. Then we have. I want to mention this real quick. At that tailgate, if you show up and you're there, we have a special gift from Duck Camp, one of our sponsors.
Nice.
A hat, Duck Camp hat that we often wear on this show, as well as a $200 gift certificate.
Whoa.
Nah, serious, yeah. Then we have the Watch With Us. Aaron Hogan hosts that. And then Post-Game Live by Flight and Yingling. Rod Babers, you're back with me. Brian Robeson is a maybe for tomorrow. He was feeling a little sick this morning when I talked to him. We'll see what happens there. But please join us all day tomorrow. We're going to be out and about in DKR, having a little fun. Rod, been a pleasure to be seeing you again. Jerry, thanks for checking in. Have a safe trip up to Austin tomorrow morning. I'll see you when you get in. And to all of you guys out there, thank y'all so much for supporting Texas football. The Longhorns are #1 in the country, and there's no doubt that fans play a role in just how much it means to the University of Texas and why it's a priority. Football is a priority at the University of Texas. So thank y'all for doing that. For Jerry, Rod, and myself, y'all have a good one. Hook 'em. We'll see you tomorrow, guys.
Come on, guys.